All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really pivotal moment in music history, the rise of this alternative, conscious movement right in the middle of hip-hop's golden era.
So back in the late 80s, you have Chuck D from Public Enemy saying something that just sticks. He called hip-hop the Black CNN. And what a powerful way to put it, right? For so many people, rap music was their news channel, their source of commentary, bringing these raw, unfiltered stories from the streets right into the mainstream. But here's the thing. While you had these incredible, groundbreaking groups like NWA and Public Enemy broadcasting the, really harsh realities of the Reagan era, another signal was starting to emerge. It was like a totally different station was coming on the air, broadcasting on its own frequency, with a whole new vibe and a different message.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First step, we'll look at the two big realities coexisting in hip-hop. Then we'll get into how the native tongues came on the scene. We'll also shine a spotlight on the pioneering women who are demanding ladies first. And finally, we'll trace that incredible jazz rap legacy that's still making waves today.
Okay, section 1, hip-hop's two realities. To really get this new sound, you first have to understand the world it came from. It was a time defined by this massive culture clash, basically two completely different philosophies fighting for the heart and soul of hip-hop. So on one side, you had what you might call the sound of the streets. I mean, think about it. NWA, Public Enemy, Ice-T. They became these, as some historians have called them, organic intellectuals. They were reporting straight from the front lines, using these really menacing lyrics and super hard-hitting beats to tell the world about the realities of poverty and state-sanctioned violence in their neighborhood. But at the exact same time, something else was brewing, a completely different sound. It was like a total flip of the script. So instead of that raw street reality, this new movement was all about Afrocentric ideas, about positivity. And instead of those hard-hitting beats, the production was built on these really eclectic, jazz-infused samples. A whole different feel.
So that brings us to our next section, the native tongues emerge. How did this alternative sound actually come to be? Well, over in New York, a collective of artists got together and they kind of expanded on that whole organic intellectual idea, but with their own unique positive spin. And they called themselves the Native Tongues. They formed back in 1988, and what's so cool is that the core of the group was literally just a bunch of friends. You had artists from groups like A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul who actually knew each other from high school, and they all shared this incredible, positive vision for what hip-hop could become. Now, their whole philosophy was built around this idea of Afrocentrism, and this wasn't just about the music, It was a full-on cultural movement. They were using their lyrics, their style, everything to promote Black pride, to celebrate intellectualism, and to spread positivity. It was a very conscious choice to create an alternative to the, often darker stories being told at the time.
And A Tribe Called Quest? Man, they quickly became the flag bearers for this entire sound. Just look at this incredible run they had. In just 4 years, they dropped 3 absolute masterpieces. We're talking critically acclaimed 5-mic classics, which was the highest rating you could get back then. These albums didn't just define their career, they totally redefined the sound of hip-hop.
Yeah, and their musical innovation, that was the key. They were the ones who really truly bridged that gap between jazz and hip-hop. And it wasn't just about digging for old records to sample. I mean, they famously brought in the legendary jazz bassist Ron Carter to play live on the track Verses from the Abstract. Think about that. It was this genuine fusion of sounds that connected different generations and genres in a way nobody had really done before. All right, moving on to section 3, ladies first. This conscious movement also opened up the door for some of the most powerful female voices in music history. These were artists who didn't just want to join the conversation, they were demanding to lead it. And there are 2 names you absolutely have to know here, just true trailblazers. MC Lyte and Queen Latifah. In '88, MC Lyte basically kicked the door down, becoming the first female rapper ever to drop a full solo album. Then, just a year later, Queen Latifah comes out with All Hail the Queen. Her intelligent, no-nonsense vibe immediately got her labeled rap's first feminist, which was a huge deal in such a male-dominated field. And believe me, her music did not pull any punches.
This line right here, from her classic song Unity, it was a direct, head-on challenge to the misogyny she was seeing all around her. It was so much more than a lyric. It was her drawing a line in the sand, talking about domestic violence and demanding respect for women on a global stage.
And that message, it hit home, big time. In 1995, that very song, Unity, won her a Grammy. And that wasn't just, a win for her. It was this massive mainstream validation of her message. It cemented her status as not just a powerful cultural figure, but as a genuine commercial superstar.
Okay, so our final section, the jazz rap legacy. After this incredible explosion of creativity, what was the lasting impact? What's the enduring echo of this conscious movement? Well, its innovative spirit and sound are definitely still bouncing around in music today.
Yeah, this jazz rap style completely changed the whole soundscape of hip-hop. I mean, its influence went everywhere. You had Dr. Dre out on the West Coast saying Tribe Sound was a direct inspiration for his G-Funk masterpiece, The Chronic. Back on the East Coast, producers like Pete Rock felt like they had to step up their game and get more creative with their beat digging. It also just blew the doors wide open for other groups like Diggable Planets to come in and win their own Grammys. And it paved the way for a whole new generation of conscious artists, like Common and Mos Def.
So what's the bottom line here? This movement fundamentally expanded the very definition of what hip-hop could be. They perfected, just like this quote says, the hip-hop alternative. They proved that things like intelligence, artistic diversity, and positivity, they weren't just possible in hip-hop. They were a powerful and honestly a necessary part of the entire culture. So, in the end, the golden era really proved that hip-hop was never just one channel. It was more like a full radio dial, just packed with competing, complex, and absolutely brilliant voices. The rise of this conscious movement showed everyone that authenticity could be found just as much in positivity as it could in protest. And that leaves us with a really powerful question, doesn't it? What does it truly mean for an art form to represent all of its different, competing truths?